Well, welcome back to the Pro Body Lifestyle Podcast. We are your hosts, Janos and Melissa Prochuk, and we are here today to talk about, last week we talked about how to stay and keep momentum throughout winter.
Yep.
Today we're going to be talking about the exact plans you could follow, whether that's bulking throughout winter and our protocol for that, or whether that's cutting throughout winter and then our protocol for that.
Yeah, because like last week when we were talking about finding motivation in winter, the worst thing for motivation is when you're not clear on your goals. And winter is a time where you can really utilize this space where there's not many events on, there's not many things that are happening. You can really use it to your advantage to go, okay, what's my specific goal that's going to get me into the gym, that's going to get me following my habits? And once you have that goal, which we're going to talk about today, you can just follow those steps for the next 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, and it's one of those like amazing times of the year where because of the nature of winter, we are wearing more clothes. So it is a time of the year where the gyms tend to be more empty, which means it's great because then you can take advantage of that, use more equipment. You're not waiting when you go to the gym. And then because it is cold, you've got a little bit more clothes on. So you can focus on, like, if you are already lean and you're like, you know what, I want to put on some serious muscle, it is a time when you can put on a little bit of body fat and not worry about it because you've got all of these clothes on. And then it's a great time to just prepare your body for the end of the year when summer comes around so that you've got your goals already on track, you're keeping momentum, and you're just keeping your mindset really strong throughout winter. So one of the biggest things that we find is that you can't be in and out with your goals.
Yes.
Like you need to choose which one you want to do. And I think that this is the biggest problem I see, just not in just winter, but just in general, is that people like flip-flop between wanting to bulk, wanting to cut too quickly. And they're not giving themselves enough time to actually get results in either of them. So they will do a little bit of a cut and they'll be like, all right, you know what, I'm going to focus on cutting. They'll do it for a month or a few weeks and they'll be like, oh, you know what, no, I want to focus on building muscle. So then they'll increase their calories back up again, try to eat more food, trying to build more muscle. But then they don't like that they're putting on body fat because they don't know how to do it properly. And then they end up flipping back to, oh no, I want to cut now because I've put on too much body fat. But the thing is that if you're not giving yourself enough time in either bulking or cutting, you're not going to effectively do anything. You're just going to kind of be messing with your metabolism and kind of messing with your body essentially, because it's like, I don't know what's happening right now. It's like, are we cutting, we're trying to lose weight, or are we trying to put weight back on and put it back into storage again? And so then people get stuck in that limbo period.
Well, what I've learned over the years being a coach is, and I'll speak for females here, is most women don't know what lean bulking or cutting actually is. Like with the goal that specifically comes to us usually from clients is, I want to tone, I want to lose weight, Mel. And we're like, okay, great, like definitely can help you with that goal. But people don't know what to do when they've lost the weight. People don't know how to do it. And they hear the words lean bulk and all they hear there is bulk. And they're like, no, I don't want to be bulky. I don't want to put on all this massive muscle. Again, I wish it was that easy to put on muscle the way that females think we can do that. But I think when people think about these goals, they either go too extreme or they're half in, like Janos said. And it's like, if you actually know the right ways to do both of these goals, you can follow it so easily and it doesn't have to impact your life so much. And that's why it is really important to use it, go after these goals during winter, because like Janos said, you're covered up. Most people can't see what's going on. And then all of a sudden in spring and summer, it's like, wow, you reveal everything you've built in winter because you haven't really been able to see it. Everyone's been in that hibernation period. Like I know for myself, a few years ago, I did my first ever lean bulk and I did it probably 8 months before we went to Europe. So I was actually doing it in summer, which is actually harder because I wanted to make sure that in Australian winter when we were going to Europe, that I felt my strongest, I felt my best, I felt lean, but also had enough calories to eat over there. And I had to start this back in like October the year before. Which was way harder on my mental health. However, so beneficial, and I'm still reaping the benefits from that today.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where like my overall protocol that I like to follow for any client is, first of all, like if you've got a lot of weight to lose, that should be your target first. For like a variety of health reasons, like it's just healthier getting rid of body fat, right? Like because your metabolic health is better, like all your blood work markers are better. So it's just healthier to lose the body fat. Your body operates better. And so I always say that your first goal, if you've got a lot of weight to lose, like if you've got more than 10 kilos, more than 20 kilos that you want to be losing, then that should always be the priority for your health, because it's just going to get you feeling and obviously looking healthier as well.
Yeah.
And then once you've lost that weight, that's where you dabble with like, okay, so you want that calorie deficit to be able to lose the weight. But then once you've lost the weight, that's where you can now shift things into what we call, like, it's got many different names, right? It's got lean bulk, lean gain. Some people call it reverse dieting. And it basically just means what you do once you're lean. So once you've lost the weight, how do you go back to eating and raising your metabolism back up in a way where you don't just regain all of the body fat?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. I think this episode's really important for clients who have lost weight or they've been stuck in low calories for a really long time and don't know where to go from here. Your answer is a lean bulk, but it's just knowing how to do it properly, because sometimes people do it way too early. And if they've got that 10 to 15 to 20 kilos to lose, they're bulking on top of body fat percentage that, it's going to be quite hard for their mental health to be looking at, more weight on top of that when they're trying to lose weight and bulk at the same time. So try not to do both at the same time. It's so much easier to lose the weight and to build muscle on top of a very lean structure, because then you're able to reveal it easier, you can see it quicker, and it's way more motivating than building it underneath this layer of body fat that you'll never see for months.
Yeah, it is really demotivating, because then people are like, they don't know if the muscle growth is working, quite simply because you can't see your muscles yet.
Yeah.
And so that's where, for confidence reasons too, it's always best. So not only just for health reasons, but just for confidence, like, always try and focus on losing the weight first. So then you've gotten rid of the body fat. And then once you've gotten to a decent level of leanness that you want, so for a lot of guys, it might be that they want to at least see the abs. Then that's where it's like, okay, now we don't want to get lean anymore. We want to prioritize muscle growth. And so that's why we then shift into a calorie surplus, where you're then going to fuel your body better to be able to build muscle. And this is where a lot of people go wrong, because they focus on just ramping up the food and doing like a dirty bulk, where they're just eating absolutely everything. And then the reality is that they just end up putting on body fat and not putting on much muscle, because then they need to start going into a diet too soon.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't realize is that what matters more in trying to build muscle is how long you're in a surplus.
Yeah.
So how long you've got a calorie surplus where you're eating more food, rather than how much of a surplus you have per day.
Yeah.
Where if you have too much of a surplus per day, you end up gaining the weight too quickly that you need to go back into cutting. And so that's not really good for muscle growth. What you want is you want to have a really long period where you're in a calorie surplus, so that you can do it for months and months and months. And then you only need to lose kilos, like 5 kilos, let's say, by the very end of it, because you haven't put on a ton.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, is just realizing that this is a period of being very persistent and also patient, and knowing that just as much kind of, consistency that you had with losing weight, the same consistency and dedication has to come to gaining and lean bulking at the same time. Like Janusz said, it's not about just eating or McDonald's, Hungry Jacks, etc., like dirty bulking when you can eat more food. It's not about that at all. It's actually going back the opposite way when you're lean bulking and slowly building up your calories to a point where you're not putting on body fat. You're just using those extra calories as energy in the gym to build more muscle. That's the whole point of a lean bulk. But I think definitely the first step focusing on is losing weight, like we were saying before. Otherwise, it's so demotivating going the other way, bulking and then trying to lose the weight and see it. It's like, no, let's actually lose all the weight that you want to see, get down to a body fat percentage that you feel really comfortable at. And then from there, when you feel like, oh, wait, there's nowhere for me to go now. I'm losing, like, I'm not feeling as strong anymore. Like, I'm not pushing for PBs. I feel like I've been in a deficit for a really long time now, and I don't know where to go with my calories now. Those are 2 indicators to go, I'm actually ready to go and start building up my calories again, but in a slow way.
Yeah.
So making sure it's controlled. And we highly recommend doing this with a coach. I'd actually recommend lean bulking with a coach more than losing weight, in my own personal opinion, because yes, we all know if like we reduce our calories, move our bodies more, and we're consistent, we lose weight. But bulking takes a lot of patience, and it takes a lot of understanding and trusting the process. And you really need someone there who's been through it before, who's also coached people through it, to remind you why certain things are happening to your weight, why your body's looking like a certain way as well, and to focus on how hard are you lifting, how's your body feeling, how's your energy levels feeling, and helping you trust the process to see that end goal eventually.
Yeah, especially if you're somebody who's just come off losing a ton of weight. Like we've had clients who they come down from being over 100 kilos, they come down into around the like 60s, low 60s. They're like really lean. They start to see their abs for the first time. They might start to see their muscles start popping out for the first time.
That can become addictive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where it can be very hard mentally to shift out of a calorie deficit, because they're like, but I've gotten so comfortable with this and I don't want to go back to, like, I'm feeling amazing now. I don't want to go back to being overweight again. And this is the way that you do it in a strategic way, to be able to not focus on regaining a whole heap of body fat, but instead controlling your calories and controlling the way that you focus on building muscle, to shift that priority to like, okay, now let's use these extra calories that are coming into my body. Let's bump our calories back up to maintenance and a little bit above, so we can prioritize muscle growth. And then you will start to gain weight along the way. But that's where it's great having a coach to help calm that mindset of like, oh no, don't worry, this is normal.
It's supposed to happen.
It's supposed to happen. And then not go immediately into a cut because you're like, oh no, I've just gained 5 kilos back. I got to cut straight away. It's like, give yourself a little bit of a buffer. And that's where, for me, I like to look a lot more visually than just at what the scale is doing.
Yeah.
Because if you've been dieting for a while and then you go to shift into a lean bulk, immediately your body holds more water. It holds more of the food in your physical stomach. So it's not that you're gaining body fat. It's just your body's gaining weight, because now your intestines, your stomach can now hold more food inside. And so it temporarily boosts you up. And so I think what we should do is we should go into the specific protocols now. We'll first focus just about like cutting. So if any of you want to cut throughout winter, and then we'll follow that up by doing the lean bulk protocol. Because like we said, a lot of people, they think they're ready to lean bulk, but if you haven't lost the weight in the first place, most likely you still need to focus on weight loss first. And then once you get to a good level of body fat that you're happy with, that's where you then shift into the lean bulk protocol. So to summarize, if you have a lot of weight still left to lose, if you're not happy with how lean you are, how defined your muscles are looking, then focus more on cutting first. And if you've gotten to the edge of your goals where you've just gotten from 100 kilos down to your goal body weight of like 60 or 70 kilos, whatever that is, and you're ready to focus and prioritize muscle growth, then we'll talk about that second.
Yeah. And I think, like, even for my own experience, I remember I gained a few kilos in COVID, which most people did. And then when we got married, I wanted to lose weight, feel lean, feel amazing. And that's what I focused on first. And then I moved into a lean bulk. So we'll get to that as well with my example. But the first step is cutting down. Like, I wasn't going to bulk up for my wedding. I was like, no, I want these muscles to pop. I want to feel lean. I want my face to look nice and lean as well. Like, there's nothing wrong with actually wanting to lose weight. You may have some people in your life going, what are you doing? Like, you look great. Stop stressing out about it. Like, you are allowed to lose weight if you feel like you're not at a weight that you feel comfortable at right now. And that's so fine. You may not even know the exact number you have to lose to, feel like, you're at that final stage where you can start to lean bulk. But this is where we go, okay, just focus on kilo by kilo. But realistically, I would say cutting is probably the easiest step to do before the lean bulk, like what we're saying. And the first step is just focusing on that nutrition and how consistent can you be and how long that period's going to be as well. This is where a lot of our clients go wrong sometimes. And as a client, you may be listening to this going, oh my gosh, that's me right now, is a lot of our clients and people we've known in the past will cut and they will start to go, yep, I'm in a calorie deficit, which means you're eating less calories than your maintenance calories. So what your body actually requires every single day. Now, we're not going to go too low where we feel as though we can't maintain these calories for a long period of time. We're going to go around roughly 300 to 500 calories underneath your maintenance calories. Start around there, depending on how much movement you do per week. And then you're going to start being consistent with that. But the way that people do it sometimes, and this is wrong, is they eat really well Monday to Friday, binge on the weekend, and restart every Monday. Or they'll do really well for 2 to 3 weeks and then go back to their normal diet and expect it all to work and wonder why and ask us, oh, it's not working. My body just can't lose weight. It must be my hormones. And it's like, no, like you just haven't been consistent enough. If you find the correct calories that you need to follow in your deficit and you are consistent, your body eventually goes, oh, well, I need my maintenance calories as energy per day. This person is not going to feed me. Like it's like you are only feeding, for example, if my maintenance calories is 2,000 calories and I'm only having around 15 to 1,600 per day, that's a 400 to 500 calorie deficit that my body's like, well, I require more calories. I require 2,000. I need to start using my body fat as energy because she's not going to feed me with food. So you need to be consistent enough to allow your body to start doing that. But I know from my own experience as a coach, I'm sure you can say the same, is clients don't wait for that period to come yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely what we see a lot is that people forget that it's a weekly thing.
Yes.
And so I always remind people that it's like your bank account. Like it's like your bank account. So if you're like in a calorie deficit throughout the week, Monday to Friday, and each day you're 500 calories under your maintenance. And so what we're talking about there, by the way, guys, if you're not sure about this, is metabolism is just a fancy word for how much it costs energy-wise to run your body, right? So everybody's body has a certain amount of calories it uses to keep you alive. Now there's calculators online, you can just Google it to figure out what your calories are. But at the end of the day, it's just going to give you an estimation. It doesn't know you personally. So it's just going to try and estimate it through a fancy calculator to give you a maintenance calories, estimating what it costs to run your body on a day-to-day level. Now, if you eat that amount of calories, so for the sake of today, if it's 2,500 is your maintenance, then if you eat more calories than that, basically it's a good thing. Your body's like, great, we've got extra calories beyond what we need today to survive. So I'm going to store that as body fat. Which if you're trying to lose body fat, that's not what you want. So that's what we call the calorie deficit, where if that maintenance is 2,500 calories to maintain your body weight and you eat less than that, for example, you were talking about having 500 calories less, then that would put you into a calorie deficit because you're not eating 2,500, which is what you need to maintain. You're only eating 2,000. But that's where, because you've got the fat stores, which is essentially stored up energy, your body then now has to tap into your bank account, which is the fat stores, to make up the difference so that you still have that 2,500 calories to run your body for the day. And so that's what we call the calorie deficit, is you're basically putting your body into a state where you're deficient, meaning you're not eating enough food and enough calories, so that your body has the opportunity basically to use the stored calories, which is your body fat, to help use up your body fat.
Yeah.
So that's basically what we want to do to lose the weight, to lose the body fat. But the thing is that you have to do it consistently. Like if you just do it Monday to Friday, and then on the weekend you have, 3,000, 4,000 calories on those weekend days.
It all balances out.
It balances out because then your body's going to be like, well, actually I only need 2,500 on the weekend days and I just had 3,000 or 4,000. It's like, well, great. I have an extra 1,000, 2,000 calories extra. So I'm going to deposit that back into my fat stores again.
Well, I think that's where a lot of people go wrong sometimes, is they think they're eating in this calorie deficit without tracking. And that's why we recommend tracking, at least to begin with, so well, because it allows you to see data. Data is so good to follow and to actually visually see what you're consuming every single day. Because if you're not losing weight and you think you're in a calorie deficit, I can 100% guarantee you're probably not. And I even go through those seasons. I've tracked for over 10 years. I'll even have seasons where I'm like, I've gained 2 kilos over a few weeks. I'm like, that's interesting. But then I start to track for a week. I'm like, okay, the lunch and dinner I've been having, I thought was 400 calories. It's actually 700. Or people will go out to buy eggs on toast with avocado at cafes and think it's really low in calories. I'm like, it's actually close to 1,000 calories what you're eating right there. You think you're eating under those calories, but you're probably not. And that's why if you keep going by your intuitive eating over the weekend and just seeing what your stomach feels like and going, I'll stop when I'm full. I'm sorry, but if I went like that, I would stop at 4,000 calories every single day because I can eat. But it's about knowing, okay, if I track ahead of time, and that's what we recommend a lot of our clients in a cutting season, if you track ahead, at least 24 hours ahead, you are able to wake up and go, I just need to stick to these amount of calories. And over 2 to 3 weeks, if I see my scales not moving at all, and if I weigh myself in accurately every single day, nothing's changing, then I know that I need to either change my nutrition or I need to change my movement. But usually it comes down to nutrition because it's very hard to out-train a bad diet.
Yeah, I love those points that you made just there. Like, I agree. I think it's actually impossible to intuitively eat without tracking your calories.
For example, sorry to cut you, I just don't want to forget this point. Like, I can smash a whole block of chocolate. It's like a gift of mine. I'm talking in one episode of a show. Janusz looks at me like I'm crazy, but that doesn't even fill me up because it's just chocolate. But that's like 1,100 calories just in that sitting for a quote unquote snack on top of my normal calories for that day. So it's like remembering those things as well. Yeah. Sorry, back to you.
It's the classic thing though. People think that they're not overeating, but if you're not losing weight or if you're continuing to gain weight, then the physics of it means that you are overeating, right? And that's where people go wrong because they're thinking quantity, meaning the size of the food they're eating.
Yes.
Thinking, but I'm not eating much food, so therefore I'm barely eating enough calories. I must be in a calorie deficit. But the calories of food is not related to how big food is or not. And that's where I like to remind people that, like, for example, our rings, our wedding rings, Like they're worth a lot of money, but they're tiny. But the value of them is a lot because
I'm not
they're
even wearing
expensive.
mine.
No, she's not even wearing hers. But it's worth a lot, even though it's
Yes.
small. And so food is very much the same, where there are some foods that are high volume, high density, where they're very big, but they are very low calorie.
Yeah.
And then there's foods that are very small, like a wedding ring, but they're worth a lot of calories.
Yes.
And it's not intuitive what is what unless you track calories. And that's why nutrition companies, by law, have to put on the back of the labels what's in the food. So then you can see that first number where it says energy, calories, kilojoules. That's the energy content of the food.
Yeah.
So if you just start getting used to looking at the back of labels and seeing the energy contents of foods, then that way you'll know, okay, when I get my calorie calculator and I figure out what my rough maintenance is, I'm minus 500 from that to get my weight loss goals that I'm trying to stick to for each day. And then as you start tracking foods or looking at the food labels, you're going to start to see, oh my gosh, that thing is 1,000 calories just for that. That's not worth it.
Yeah.
And you might look at something else and you might be like, oh wow, that's only 500 calories. And it's like, it's going to fill me up way more than that other thing. So maybe I'll eat more of that, eat less of the other one.
I think that's why tracking ahead and planning your food ahead of time is so beneficial, because you can really budget out where you want to put your calories. And that's where the fun begins. Like, for example, if I'm eating 2,000 calories per day and I'm like, okay, like I want to make sure that we have a movie night coming up that I want to fit popcorn Maltesers in, 100%, I'm going to already track those ahead of time, which guess what, guys? A whole bag of Maltesers in a movie, if you go into the movies and eating the whole bag and pouring it into your popcorn, is 1,000 calories right there. Just want to, destroy your life right there. But if I'm in a calorie deficit, I'll weigh out and be like, I only want 200 calories of Maltesers, which is like 5 of them, but that's okay. And I will track ahead of time. And then 80% of my other calories for that day, I will make sure are nutritious foods. Now, the reason we want to do that, like keeping that 80-20 rule of 80% of your calories being nutritious, 20% having that fun food for your mental health, is because first of all, the 80% nutritious food is going to fuel you. It's going to keep you energized for the day, because if you just had Maltesers for the entire calories, you'd still fit within your calories, which is fantastic, but you would feel so hungry. And that's the other thing as well, is if you have a high macro diet, like high protein diet, high fiber diet, it's going to keep you fuller for longer. And it's going to prevent you from having those random snacks throughout the day that you think you need to have, but you really don't. And that's another point as well. I know this is going a bit sidetracked as well, but you don't need to eat all the protein cookies and the protein bars and things like that unless you want to. If you hit your protein goals and your calorie goals in your main meals, you don't need to worry about your snacks being so high in protein. I don't even have protein cookies or anything like that, because it actually doesn't really sit well in my gut for me. But I just focus on getting my main 3 meals highly nutritious, and then I have fun all around them. But I track ahead of time to ensure that I never feel guilty about the food that I'm having. I track my weight to make sure I'm on the right path. If you're not already tracking your weight, then it's you telling yourself that, you're scared to jump on the scale because you know that you're not doing the right thing right now, and you're waiting until you start doing the right thing to jump back on the scale so the graph looks good. We've seen it all. We see it every week.
Yeah. And that comes back to like what we were saying with setting the targets, right? So when you go on and you get that calorie calculator and it's giving you that estimate of your metabolism, it's just estimating it. So what you need to do is you need to take that estimation number. So if it gives you, all right, estimated calories for your maintenance is 2,500. That's an estimation. Now I'm going to minus 500 from that, which will give me my goal, which might be 2,000 to aim for. And then what I got to do is I have to have 2 weeks where I hit the goal. So I need to make sure I'm actually eating the right foods. So track your calories, find the meals that work for that, follow it. And then I got to track my body weight alongside of it.
Yeah.
So then what I can do is then after 2 weeks, I can look at the graphs and I can be like, okay, am I losing body weight? And if I'm not losing the body fat, if my body weight's staying the same, it's not going down, then that means that the calculator that it gave you that estimation was wrong and you need to reduce it slightly. So then you might reduce it by 200, go for another week or 2. Keep tracking your body weight, keep tracking the new calories, which was 2,000 to start with, but now you reduced it to 1,800. Now, if you start losing weight, great. You found the calories that work for you.
Yeah.
If it's still not losing weight, then just minus another 200 from that, maybe aim for 1,700 or 1,600. Then when you find the calories that for you equals weight loss, you don't need to change it. Keep those calories, stick to that. Because what we see a lot of people do is they go too drastic into the deficit, too unsustainable. And then the reality is they're aiming for 1,200 calories, but then because they end up binging on the weekends because they can't sustain it, they're not actually eating 1,200. when you equal it out over the week, they're actually eating like 2,000. Whereas sometimes, like one of my clients, I've just done this with her. I've increased her calories from, I think it was 1,300, and we increased it up to 1,700.
Yep.
And she was like, how could this possibly lose weight when I wasn't losing weight on 1,300? And I'm like, trust the process. So she followed it, and she found that by doing 1,700, she wasn't ending up binging on the weekends as much. She wasn't ending up having to go out and just like going crazy because she felt like she was depriving herself so much. Mm-hmm. So the funny thing is, by aiming for 1,700, she's actually eating less calories over the week, because when she was aiming for 1,300, she felt like she was aiming for 1,300, but really she ends up eating 2,000 because she can't sustain the 1,300.
Yes.
So sometimes it's better to slightly like go a little bit higher than you think and find the highest calories that you can lose weight on. But like I was saying, if you're not losing weight, if you're tracking your body weight and you're actually following those calories for the entire week, not just Monday to Friday, and you're not losing weight yet, then you would drop them by 1 to 200 and then track it for another week to see if it changes.
Yeah, I love that point. Like, especially when new clients start with us, I start them pretty high on calories. Like, I would say most women that come to us have done 1,300 in the past, which sometimes some women actually need it, depending on their height, weight, etc. But some people, I start them so high, and I always tell them when they get really confused and they think we're doing the wrong thing, they're like, oh, I don't know. And they act like, oh no, I know what I'm doing. I always remind them that it's better to be more consistent on higher calories, like Janos said, because if you are consistent on this calories and you actually start to lose weight, you give yourself some room in the future if you need to drop calories slightly more. But if you start so low at like 1,100 calories and then you plateau eventually, which you will, where do you go from there? So I'd rather you have more energy with higher calories, be more consistent with higher calories, lose weight, maybe not at a fast rate where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm losing 2 kilos a week. It's like a more stable weight, but you're losing it consistently over time. It allows you to have more room to play with in the future, and you are going to be more consistent on it. Another point I was thinking of when Janos was speaking was the worst thing you can do when you're in your cutting phase and when you're tracking is to only track here and there. I always tell clients, the worst position to be in is half in. Like, Jan, I think you mentioned this earlier in the podcast. When you're half in, so like you're either all in or you're all out. When you're half in though, you have the guilt of, you're tracking only a few meals a day because it makes you feel good. But then you're not tracking other meals because you're like, I don't know what it is. It's probably high calories, doesn't matter. But then you're feeling guilty for eating certain foods when you know you shouldn't because you're trying to lose weight, but you're going over your calories because you're not tracking properly, right? So it's like you might as well be, if you don't want to track completely and like lose weight at this current season, you don't have the capacity for it, just step back and don't feel guilty and then go, okay, this is not the season for me. But if you actually want to lose weight, you've got to be all in for a season. I'm not saying it's got to be forever. I'm not saying it's got to be for like years and years and years, but you have to be consistent for a season to make a change. And if you think half in's going to make a change, then you're already wrong. You have to go all in. And the quicker you go all in, the quicker you start to get results. If you go in, out, in, out, in, out, that's why you think you've been in a deficit for a year, but you probably haven't. If you've stayed the same probably all year and you feel like you've been dieting, in quotation marks here, for a whole year, it's because you've been in and out consistently, and you haven't allowed your body to feel and be like, oh, like I'm consistent, we're losing weight, okay? Now we've lost the weight, now we can just maintain it, which is actually the fun part. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to like sometimes shake some clients. I'm like, no, they think they're like, oh, it's not working well. I'm like, because you're not in a deficit.
Yeah.
Where's your tracking? I can't see any data. And it's like the reason, like I want to be able to see everything, because if your data's all there, then we can make decisions so much quicker and go, okay, all we need to do is cut out this snack or add a snack in. Sometimes with clients, I can actually add calories on top, because then I'm like, you're actually losing weight too quickly and we want to make sure we've got enough energy. Like that's when it starts to get fun. So if you're going to go into a cutting season, I know I'm really going for it right now, but if you're going to cut, please go all in and give yourself that time to go all in.
Cutting, it's not something that you want to do forever. Like you don't want to do it for a long time. And the longer you're taking to do it, the longer that you're half in, the longer it's going to be.
Yeah.
Because cutting, it's got such an emotional drain to it. You're having to deny yourself all the time. You're having to say no to things. So then why would you half cut? Because then you have all of that emotional feeling of dieting. Like you feel like you're actually dieting, but you're just not getting the results because you're not fully in. So I would much rather to go full in, get the results, do it in only a couple of months, get it done, so that I can get back to increasing my calories back to maintenance, or as we're about to talk about, increasing them slightly beyond maintenance, so I can then shift into eating more food again, feeling better because I have more food, because I'm going to have more energy to now be able to train better to build muscle mass, but also be able to enjoy life with my friends and family again easier. Whereas when you're trying to do both, when you're like, no, I'm going to cut, but I'm going to also go enjoy life with my friends and family and do all my social events and everything, it's like, cool, but now you're just like, you're prolonging how long you're needing to diet to 6 months, 1 year, because you're not willing to go all in, rip the Band-Aid off and just get it done.
Yeah.
Like when we're talking about how fast you can lose weight, so when you have that calorie deficit, if you have a 500 calorie deficit per day, so if you're aiming for 2,500 is your maintenance, if you cut that by 500 to 2,000, a 500 calorie deficit per day is going to equal half a kilo of fat loss per week.
Yep, 3,500 calories.
Yep.
Yes.
If you have 1,000 calorie deficit per day, so again, if your maintenance was 2,500 as the example, if you cut that down to 1,500, so you got 1,000 deficit per day, then that's going to be a 7,000 calorie deficit per week, which equals a kilo fat loss.
Sure does.
Per week. So that's fast for context. So if you're losing a kilo a week, that's fast fat loss. If you're losing half a kilo per week, then that's still pretty fast. That's what we like to aim for.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're looking at losing 10 kilos, if you're on the fast end, if you're losing a 1,000 calorie deficit per day, aiming for 1,500, if your maintenance was 2,500, then you're going to get there in 10 weeks if you go all in and you follow it.
Yeah.
But if you don't, it could take you 20 weeks. It could be triple the time, 30 weeks. So it's like, just get in there, get it done, and then just get it done.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of weight to lose, like we've had clients who've got 40 kilos, 50 kilos that they've been losing. Sometimes what we do is you'll incorporate diet breaks. So you might have, okay, you know what? I'm going to lock in, and I'm not going to have a diet break every week, because then it's just going to undo the week. If you're not losing weight, then lose weight first. But let's say if you've been losing weight successfully for 4 weeks in a row, 8 weeks in a row, once you start to feel a bit of fatigue, sometimes people don't want to, because they're like, no, you know what, I'm feeling great, I'm losing weight, I want to keep it going, I'm on momentum. But if you feel like, oh, you know what, I'm feeling that fatigue, the mental fatigue of dieting, that's where you can incorporate a diet break, where you have 1 week where you bump your calories back up to maintenance. Yep. You don't just eat whatever, but you purposely bump calories back up to maintenance for a week so that you maintain weight for that week. And then you go back into a deficit after that week, because you've kind of like mentally recharged. So that's where like I'll put that usually at like a 4-to-1 ratio as a maximum. So it's like kind of for 4 weeks of successful dieting.
Well, that's the thing.
You have 1 week. That's like your reward, is 1 week at the end of the month diet break. If you're doing 8 weeks, maybe you go 8 weeks successful dieting, and then you might have a 1 week or maybe a 2-week maintenance break if you want. But this is where people go wrong with the maintenance break, because then they don't just go to maintenance, they just eat whatever.
Well, that's the thing.
And they gain it back.
If you're one of our clients right now, especially one of my clients that are going, what, Mel, you haven't recommended 4-1 ratio to me. It's because you haven't given me 4 consistent straight weeks, and I'm talking Monday to Sunday, of consistent tracking, weighing in, and being 100% on point.
If the funny thing is, it's like, no, you've actually done it on your own by accident. Right? Because if they've had weeks where they're not losing weight for 4 weeks successfully, then that week where they didn't lose weight, successful maintenance week, great job.
But they're maintaining everything. Then they're wondering why, I just can't lose weight. And I'm like,
diet breaks are only for the people who are locked in, successfully in a calorie deficit, successfully losing weight. Like if you're losing a kilo per week or half a kilo per week successfully for 8-12 weeks in a row, then that's where it's like, okay, now let's incorporate one of these in. But if you've gone and you've had a week where you went to a wedding, or you went away and you ate a lot of calories, or you got sick and you ate a whole heap of calories or something like that, then that week was your diet break. You don't need to program one in, because your lack of consistency already programmed it in for you.
Exactly. My favorite comment from clients is, and this is where I always know a big shift's about to change in their weight, is when they tell me, oh, Mel, getting through the weekends made the biggest difference. I'm like, I know. And I've told you this from the start, which is so fine. Like everyone, we can give all the tools, but until someone decides and understands like what the tools mean and how to use them. It's like, oh, I actually had to see it for myself and decide for myself that I can't just eat well Monday to Thursday, which most people do because their groceries run out by Thursday. If they can get through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and not have to restart every single Monday, they realize, oh, it's actually quite easy and it's actually quite quick to lose weight when I'm consistent every single day, not just 4 days out of the 7. And that's the biggest thing that makes the biggest change for all of our clients. And that's when I start to see their weight coming down. And that's when I start to see them change their mindset around it all and go, oh, I'm actually all in now. So you can't just go, okay, on Monday to Thursday, I'm going to be really consistent and then see what happens over the weekend. I promise, Melissa, I'm not eating that much. You probably are, because data doesn't lie. And we've worked with that many clients over the years that when we see things happening, like if I see your weight coming down until Thursday, I'm like, oh, this is exciting. And then I see no weigh-ins for 3 days. And then I see Monday's weigh-in. I go, oh, okay. That's what happened over the weekend. Now, my clients also, usually around Thursday, Friday, I always ask my clients, what's coming up over the next 3 days for you? What are your plans for the weekend? I don't care what you're doing over the weekend. Like, I know it looks like I care. I don't really care what you're doing. I care how it's going to impact your nutrition.
How are you preparing for it?
Yes, and that's what we do, is we plan and prepare ahead together. So like my clients will be like, for example, last week, the State of Origin was on and they were like, hey, we're going to a pub tonight. I'm like, great, which pub? Let's look up the menu together and make a plan. We did that. Clients still lost weight that week, which is amazing. If you have a wedding coming up, we will make a plan for you to be like, okay, well, if your calorie budget every single day is this and you actually want to eat the food at this wedding venue, then we're going to budget your calories a little bit differently throughout the week to give you more calories to spend over the weekend. Like if you track very consistently, it's very easy to play around with calories and stay very consistent with your goal, but you just have to actually, be consistent, be honest about what's happening and not just be like, oh, I'm not going to look at it for 3 days because I know my food's already going to be bad and I'll just deal with it on Monday. Not the mentality you want to have. You want to be in control. If you're in control and you plan ahead, you can't fail. So plan always ahead.
Yep. Now we talked about like having high protein to maintain muscle while you're dieting. The other thing is making sure that you're prioritizing strength training. So prioritizing strength training, like if you're in a calorie deficit without strength training and without eating high protein, you actually end up losing a lot of muscle as well as fat.
Yep.
So if you're dieting and you want to actually have muscle at the end of it to have a good body shape, and you don't want to just lose muscle, but you want to lose fats because that's the goal, then make sure that number one, have high protein. And so an easy recommendation we like people to have is to do 2 times your goal body weight.
Yeah, I like the specific word goal there.
Yes, because sometimes people hear, 2 times body weight in protein. It's like, no, because if you're somebody who's starting at 150 kilos,
it's a lot of protein.
That's a lot of protein.
She's going to be on the toilet.
Yes, so you can aim for 2 times your goal body weight.
Yeah.
And if you're not sure what that is, maybe just type it in online, because sometimes people have unrealistic goals. But 2 times your goal body weight is usually a good goal to go for in grams of protein. So if my goal body weight was 70 kilos, then it's 2 times that would be 140. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to aim for 140 grams of protein. And so out of the calories that I got, 140 grams of protein will be that. And then the rest of the calories can go towards carbs and fats. It doesn't matter how you do them.
Yeah.
The other thing is if you're focusing on, and you get like really hungry when you're in a calorie deficit, then you want to increase that protein. Like make sure that protein's high, number one. But number two, I see your point, is to eat filling foods.
Yes, especially like I know a lot of females will message me and be like, I'm so hungry, Mel. I'm like, okay, let's fill your plate with low calorie, high volume types of foods. And usually it comes down to fiber.
What type of foods are there?
So think about like your high fiber foods, like your fruit and veggies, but also like pumpkin is just amazing. You can have so much pumpkin, roasted pumpkin.
Guys. So this is why you need to track calories, because even I've tracked calories for years and years and years.
And
I'm still surprised by food sometimes. So I tracked pumpkin the other day and I thought it was wrong because it was so low calorie for how much pumpkin I ate.
Yep.
And I Googled it and I looked it up to check it on a different source other than our app to track it. I was like, surely our app's tracking it wrong. Mm-hmm. I looked it up and you can eat a kilo of pumpkin. And it's only 200 calories.
Oh, honestly, roasted pumpkin spread on toast. I know that sounds really weird, but it's amazing. You want to think of foods that are low in calories, but you can eat a lot of it to fill your stomach up so that your stomach doesn't send that signal to your brain to go, oh, we're empty, we need more food. If you're just sticking to high protein, which is so beneficial because protein fills up your stomach and it takes a while to digest, so it stays in your stomach digesting for quite a long period of time. That's really great. But think, okay, I want to also fill up my plate with lettuce, fruits, veggies, like those type of things. So we wrote a few down here, like oats is a great thing. I have overnight oats every single morning. morning. Oats are great because they're so filling, but they line your stomach so well as well. So they keep you fuller for longer. Great source of carb, but if you pair it with a bit of protein powder or some sort of Greek yogurt or something like that, that high protein, it is a satiating breakfast that should sustain your blood sugar levels until lunchtime. If you're starting the day with a piece of buttered toast with Vegemite and you're getting to work thinking, oh, I'm so hungry. Yeah, because you just started with a piece of bread that is not going to satiate you. Your body uses it really quickly and then you're straight away hungry after that. You've got to focus more on the protein side of things. So things like oats, soups are really good and filling because they're high in fiber. Potatoes, pumpkin. So with potatoes, think the Spud Light potatoes are really good because they're low carb, which again, nothing wrong with carbs, like carbohydrates, but you want to think if you're in a deficit, how can I spend more food, spend more money on food, spend more calories, but get more out of it? So Spud Light potatoes, pumpkin, roasted veggies, lean proteins like, your chicken breast, extra lean beef mince, turkey, Greek yogurts, eggs, egg whites are really great and beneficial as well. And this is where you can start to supplement. The only supplement that Janos and I really take is protein powder because if you're really good with your diet, you shouldn't need to supplement every little thing on top of that and spend so much money. We only have protein powder maybe once a day, a scoop, because it just helps us get that extra 25 grams on top of things in a really easy way. It's easily digestible as well if you get the right protein powder. We personally love the Bulk Nutrients protein powders that we do sell for our clients if you want to get a bag. A little plug there. But it's just about making sure your protein's high and your fiber is high. Fiber is also great in a calorie deficit as well, because when you're in a calorie deficit, your digestive system will start to slow down because you're not eating as much, which means you're probably not going to go to the toilet as much. And you're like, Mel, I'm constipated for 4 days. And I'm like, it's very normal. But if you have more fiber in your diet, it's not just going to fill you up, it's also going to help that digestive system go as well.
Yeah. And so just remember, the priority with dieting is the calorie deficit. So when you're focusing on your day-to-day, what do I do? Number one, figure out your calorie target. And remember, if you're not losing weight, minus an extra 100 or 200 from that. So that's basically your money. That's how much you have to spend on the different foods you want to eat. Then if you're eating it and you're like, wow, this is really hard to stick to, I'm really hungry all the time, then get out Google and Google low calorie, like filling foods. And then start incorporating more of those into your diet. So that way you're eating your calorie target for the day, you've got your protein target for the day, and then that's all you need to focus on for now. And then if you are feeling more hungry, that's where you can look at, all right, what are those extra foods that I can eat to help me fill up? Now, I think that we can shift into lean bulking. So
Stage 2.
Before we get into this phase, make sure you've lost the fat that you want to lose first, because that's priority number one. Like, you're not ready to do the lean bulk. You're not ready to do reverse dieting yet until you've lost the weight. So once you've lost the weight and you're at your desired body fat level, I want to give yourself a long runway to basically build muscle.
Yeah.
Okay?
The way that I knew I wanted to go into a lean bulk is because I lost all this weight after our wedding, for our wedding, but I kept going after that. I got to a point where my calories were so low that I had nowhere to go from there. I was hungry. I didn't want to eat 1,400 calories anymore, and I didn't know where to go from there. I wanted to build some muscle. I kept looking at my glutes. I'm like, why do they look so flat? And I'm lifting really heavy. So I was like, okay, I actually want to look like I actually train, not just look skinny anymore. I want to make sure that I can eat a little bit more so I don't feel like I'm always scared to eat. And I want some more energy. Those were the 3 things that made me go, I'm ready for a bulk.
Yeah. And this is the cool thing too. This protocol is how I maintain a lean physique 24/7, like all the time.
Yeah. People ask us like, oh, but you guys are having burgers. I'm like, yeah, because we've done the work to get here.
Yeah.
Like I can have, sorry to interrupt you here, but since my lean bulk, I can easily have like 2,500 to 3,000 calories now and not put on weight because first of all, I do train hard and I'm consistent, but I got my calories and my metabolism up to this point by being consistent. And it took a good 9 months to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way that we do this protocol, right, is you want to optimize for time in a surplus. So once you've lost the weight, once you've been in a calorie deficit, like we talked about, calorie deficits, you can still build muscle in a calorie deficit if you're eating the right amount of protein and you're following a good training program and training hard. That's how you build muscle. But you can build more muscle beyond that when you're not in a deficit. Because that deficit, the main reason that it makes it hard to build muscle is because you're tired. When you're not eating enough calories, your body's got less energy, so it's not going to perform as well in the gym. Where what happens is that maintenance number that we calculated before, you then bump that up. So instead of going into a deficit where you're below that, you're going to eat slightly more calories than your body needs on a daily basis, just 200, 300 above your maintenance. So if that maintenance was 2,500 again, you're going to bump that up by 200 to 300. So maybe aim for 26, 27, or 2,800 calories. If you go too much, what happens is you gain too much body fat too quickly, and then you're going to need to do a long cut again. Because I never really gain a ton of weight anymore, like I got lean, I got my six pack, and then now I don't really lose it because I get my six pack, and then I will focus on eating more calories again, eating more food, training hard for as long as possible. And then once I look down and I start to realize that it's going away, so I go from, let's say if I'm 10% body fat and I go up to that 15% body fat line, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm getting to a level of leanness that I'm not comfortable with anymore.
Yeah.
Then that's where I'm like, okay, time to do a mini cut again. Now, the reason I can call it a mini cut is because I only have to lose 3 kilos, maybe 5 kilos maximum. So I can do that within a month. So it's 4 weeks of cutting. How easy is that for me to follow? It's not like that long cut you have to do to get lean in the first place because you did that effort to get lean. So then now the goal is not how much of a bulk can I do. That's where a lot of people go wrong, is they focus on bulking, eating a ton of food. And the problem is they end up building a little bit of muscle, but they end up putting on more body fat throughout the bulk. And then the problem is now they have to go into a time where it's not good for muscle growth again because they're in that calorie deficit. But whereas I only had to cut for 4 weeks to get lean again, they need to do a proper 10-week, 12-week massive cut again because they ended up putting on too much body fat.
Yeah, like when I did my bulk for Europe, I remember going, okay, I'm going to pretty much for a good 8 to 9 months, I built my calories up slowly. And this is a mistake that a lot of people make in a bulk is they think, oh, I can just chill now. I've lost the weight. I don't have to track anymore. Don't have to be as consistent with my data. I'll just keep increasing my food. But you've got to be just as strict with just slightly increasing your calories to make sure you don't tip it over the edge to add more body fat. And that's why you've got to be consistent. But don't look at it and go, oh man, still another season of consistency. This is the fun season because if you're consistent and you track your data properly, it's the quicker you can add more food on top. So I remember I'd be like, yes, I'm adding an extra 80 calories this week. That's half a bagel on top, which means I'm going to have that extra carb before my training session. And I got to a point where I was hip thrusting 250 kilos in that season. I cannot even imagine doing it right now because I'm not in a bulk, obviously, and I'm also pregnant. But it was like I wasn't even shocked. I was like, yeah, that makes sense because every week and every 2 weeks I was increasing my calories because I was consistent with it. But it's also giving yourself the period as well of going, okay, I'm going to go up to this stage. And that's why it's good to have an end time because you know you're only doing it for a good amount of months. And then I gave myself a good 8 weeks before Europe to go, okay, now I'm going to cut back an extra, I think it was 4 kilos for me. Cut back 4 kilos, but not quickly. I wanted to make sure I still maintained the muscle that I built, slowly bring it back down. And then I went to Europe feeling like, wow, I'm feeling amazing. I've maintained my glutes that I wanted to. I also went to Europe being able to eat so much food and not gain weight. We were there for 7 weeks. So it's like, look at it as the end goal of, as a female especially, if you're sick of eating 1,300 calories and you don't want to do that for the rest of your life, then the lean bulk is really important for you to do. But you really need to make sure you have a chunk of time to follow it. And that's why we want to do this episode today because winter is the perfect time to do it because this is when you're covered up and if you feel like you will have a bit of extra bloat than usual. It's very normal to have that because you are eating a little bit more than usual, but you've got jumpers on, so who cares?
Yeah. And so in terms of the protocol to follow, it's whatever your maintenance calories are, plus an extra 200. And now the reason that we're adding the calories is not because they're actually necessary, but it's just because we don't want to be in accidental deficit.
Yeah.
Okay. And the only way to know that you're not in a deficit is to put on some level of body fat.
Yes.
Okay. And so then that's why you're calculating your maintenance, you're adding an extra 200 above that. And then you're going to track your body weight again and focus on training. Because when you increase your calories, temporarily your weight will go higher, not because you put on body fat, but just because your body has more food, like the physical food that you're eating. So the weight of that food in your stomach increases your weight because now you're eating more, right?
Yeah.
So you'll notice that when you first increase your calories, you'll have a spike in your body weight for maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. And then if you keep focusing on it, it'll plateau. Then what you do is you increase your calories again by another 100, 200. Track again for another week or two. It goes up slightly, then it'll plateau and it'll stop going up even if you keep eating the same calories. where then you increase by another 100 or 200. So the goal is basically how high can we start to get our calories without our weight continuously climbing? If our weight doesn't stabilize, like let's say if I went maintenance calorie, added 200 calories, I'm aiming now for 2,800 calories, and I gain weight for 2 weeks, but then after 2 weeks, it's still gaining. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, it's still gaining. Then maybe I've bumped it up too much that I'm gaining weight too quickly.
Or you're tracking wrong.
Or I'm tracking wrong. Maybe I think I'm aiming for that and I'm aiming for way too high. Yeah. But the goal is basically to increase calories, let your body weight stabilize. Increase calories, let your body weight stabilize.
Yep.
If it's not stabilizing, then just maybe sit on that level for a little bit and just see how it goes. Because the goal with the bulk is not to gain too much body weight, because then you're going to need to cut again. So I like to put kind of like a goal, a target there to be when I have to cut again. So like, let's say if I've just started down at 70, my upper limit, maybe I'll be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to bulk until I'm 75. Now, if I get there within 5 weeks, a kilo a week, I'm then going to be like, wow, okay, I've just bulked. Now I have to cut like 5 weeks later. That's not long enough. So you want it to only be a slight surplus that it takes you a good 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 20 weeks to gain that weight to hit that top threshold. For one of my other clients, his threshold is 10 kilos. So he got to 90, we cut him down to 80, and then he lean bulks back to 90, and then he will cut back again. So the goal for him is how long can we go in a surplus? Like if we can take like all year to gain 10 kilos, then that means that he can be bulking, he can be in a surplus for a very long time, and then he can lose it in just 2 months.
Yeah.
So what you want the ratio to be for optimal muscle growth is a 4-to-1 ratio of 4 weeks in a surplus to 1 week in a deficit. So if you go 4 weeks and then because you gained 4 kilos, you now have to lose that with four weeks of dieting, then that's a 1-to-1 ratio. That's 4 weeks of surplus versus 4 weeks of dieting. Where what I'm talking about is if you go 4 weeks of a surplus and then you gain 1 kilo, you can lose 1 kilo in 1 week. So then that's 4 weeks surplus versus 1 week dieting. If you extrapolate that out, it could be 8 weeks. So you might go 8 weeks in the surplus, 2 weeks dieting. If you go a bit longer, it might be 12 weeks in a surplus, 4 weeks in a thing. So that's what I like to do is like pretty much it's like 4 months you want to be in a surplus, and then you should be able to lose that weight in 1 to 2 months that you put on. Yeah. Whereas if you go too crazy and it's going to take longer than that, then now you're going to need a full-on diet, not a mini diet.
100%. I like how you said there, like if you give yourself a good amount of time and you keep pushing it, it's really just how you feel about it. But I think it's remembering the goal of a surplus and like lean bulking is like, yes, to eat more calories, which is awesome. But the purpose of eating more calories is to push and train hard in the gym. So like every calorie that I got added onto with my lean bulk, I wouldn't go, oh no, like that's going to fluctuate my scale. I knew it would. So you've got to give up on that straight away. You got to be like, okay, I'm okay with putting on a bit of weight for a season of time because it's going to pay off in the end. And that's why when people tell me now, oh wow, like you get to always live and just enjoy this great body. I'm like, because I worked towards getting towards this, you know what I mean? But the purpose of those extra calories is coming into the gym here and going, okay, I've purposely had 30 minutes before this an extra bagel now because I could this week, and I'm going to use that energy to push in the gym. Remember, for each goal here, either whether you're dieting, cutting, or whether you're lean bulking, there's pros and cons to both. But like when you're cutting, the pros is obviously you're going to lose weight. It's going to be great. You're going to look lean. It's going to be amazing. Everyone's going to give you compliments, etc. But the cons is you're going to have no energy. It's like, it's really hard mentally, and it's going to cause you a lot of fatigue and everything like that.
That's just what it takes, though, to lose weight.
But when you look on the lean bulk side, it's like, there's different pros and cons. The cons now is that, oh no, like I'm going to put on a bit of extra weight. No one's going to even notice, but you will. And now you're scared that you may never lose that again after you've, cut down 10 kilos. It's very scary. But the pros of it, oh my goodness, I would take energy over any of that any day. The energy I had, my hormones were so settled as well.
For females, it restores your period back again.
I was so nice in my lean bulk because I was like, oh, there's so much food I'm having. I don't feel like I'm always hangry. I had so much energy to push in the gym, but also I had no brain fog. I was able to do so much work. I just felt so vibrant. So if you're scared to go into a lean bulk, just remember, especially as a female, yes, the scale may fluctuate, but if you do it properly, it will only be for a period of time. But I'm telling you, you will feel so addicted to the energy and the PBs you're going to get in the gym and the muscle you're going to build that it's going to be so worth it in the end.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important not to only use the scale as a measure of progress, because once you get lean, you can now use your body as the measurement. Like that's why photos are amazing, because once you're lean, like I can look at my body up, my physique, and I can see my definition of my arms. I can see the definition of my abs. Like I can look at my muscles. And so then I can see and I can focus on, okay, let me just focus on just building muscle, training hard, eating good protein, and increasing my calories to see how high I can get those calories up without putting on too much body fat, because I'm not looking at the scale. The scale weight might be keep going up, but if I keep looking at my body and when I flex, I'm like, okay, no, I can still see my abs, they're there. I will do the lean bulk till my abs start to disappear. And I'm like, oh, now when I'm flexing them, I can no longer see them. This is just for men, by the way. Then that's for me, that's my upper limit where I'm like, okay, that's when I know that I need to implement a mini cut again. And then I go all in with that mini cut. I go aggressive with it so that I can lose that weight quickly. If I can lose it within a month, then I can get back to my lean bulk again so that I've got that 4-to-1 ratio. So for majority of the year, I'm focusing on lean, like on surplus. I'm eating a lot of calories. I can train really well. I'm focusing on building a lot of muscle. But then I just cut for only a quick month, 2 months maximum, to be able to like stay in this process. And so that's the whole protocol of lean bulking, is that you're not doing crazy surpluses. Like you're eating a healthy diet. You're focusing on eating good foods. You're focusing on training well, because then you don't need to do these long cuts anymore.
Yeah.
And to me, that's just a more efficient process, because you're maintaining health. Like you're not allowing too much body fat to come on, which comes with all of those metabolic effects to your blood markers and your health.
100%. And like when I add my like calories to my clients who are lean bulking right now, I remind them, remember, this extra 100 calories does not mean an extra Freddo. It means like you have room now to actually have good nutritious food, like you said, to use and fuel yourself in the gym. So just remember that you're thinking about, okay, food is fuel in this season, which it always is, but you really want to make sure in that bulk, it's not just wasting it on Maccas and chocolate. It's like, no, I'm using this food to make sure I get more of carbohydrates in to push in the gym, which is your energy source, which is really important.
Yeah. And that's why I say, like, if you've never done this before, this is the, like, your life is a long time, right?
Yeah.
So this is where it's worth learning how to, number one, lose weight properly with a coach. And then number two, learn how to do the after diet. Like, how do you live your normal life?
Yes.
Like your lifestyle in a way that focuses on building muscle, having good energy, having good libido, having like just feeling great as a human.
Yes.
Learning how to do that like properly is worth so much, because you just got so many
100%.
years to live.
And to finish off today, I just want to sidetrack on this point, which is a little bit random, but I was thinking about it as we we're doing this podcast. The best thing I did, if you're a female who eventually wants to fall pregnant, the best thing I did was I've lost my weight in the past and I've done my lean bulk to build my metabolism up so I can have enough calories, to have enough energy, and to have a good hormonal health, etc. Like, I'm really glad I did this in the past, because now in pregnancy, like, yes, I'm putting on weight, which is so normal. I'm growing a human, but I never feel deprived because I know how many calories I should be having now. And I also can have a lot of calories to sustain my energy in pregnancy without feeling like I'm gaining an extra 50 kilos already. Like, people keep looking at me. They're like, wow, you're just belly. I'm like, it's not because I'm not eating. Like, I'm eating like a horse, but I've built my calories up and my metabolism up over the years for me to be in this position. So if you're thinking about falling pregnant in the next 6 months, a year, whatever it is, and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm still stuck on 1,200 calories right now. How do I get out of this? I'm telling you that if you're at a really good lean stage and you want to get to this stage where you feel like you have enough energy to carry a human being in the future, then I highly recommend going through a lean bulk with a coach though.
Yeah, because a lot of people, when they don't do it right, they do it, and then they come out at the end of it and they're like, oh, I actually just ended up getting fat.
Yeah, like I remember.
It's like, why did I do this?
My lean bulk, I was so precise with that. I remember over the Christmas period, I was in this lean bulk as well. And I traveled up to Foster to visit my grandparents. And I was so dedicated to it that I was like, Mum, like my grandparents were making all these weird foods that I couldn't track. And I was like, instead of freaking out and being like, I can't be consistent for a week and a half, I went to Coles or Woolies, grabbed some Muscle Chef meals, stayed consistent, still did all the things and the protocols I needed to do. But I was able to still stay on track, build up my calories, do all the things in a season where usually most people would, go, oh, I can't do it in that season. I'm like, nah, for a season, because I knew it was only for a short time, I'm like, I'm dedicated. Where like in future years now, it's like, that doesn't really matter. I will eat the foods that my grandparents make. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And doing them correctly, like reverse dieting, lean bulking correctly, lean gaining correctly, what it does is it makes dieting easier in the future, because when you do it, each time you implement it correctly, it increases your metabolism. It restores like your metabolic health. So then it means that the next diet you go into, you don't have to diet with as low calories anymore. Because if you continue to build muscle, if you continue to build strength, like each time you diet, you should be able to do it on higher and higher calories, because you've got more muscle. So your maintenance calories go up and up and up and up. So that's why those calculators, why I said they were wrong at the start, is because your metabolism actually changes. If you build muscle, the metabolism gets faster and faster and faster, even if you're getting older. So even if you're getting older, you can increase your metabolism by building muscle and doing these reverse diets, so that each time you have to diet, which hopefully it's not going to be a lot because you won't have to lose a ton of weight anymore, it gets easier and easier because you can diet on higher calories.
Agreed.
Like when you've seen some of these bodybuilders, some people are like, how are they dieting on 3,000 calories?
Yep.
And it's like, well, it's because that's how much muscle they have now.
Yeah, because they do building phases of like 1.5 to 2 years, and then they do a show and they only cut for like 4 months. And people are like, how do they do that? I'm like, because they've built that.
Yeah.
And they've had a really uncomfortable 2 years of you going, they're bodybuilders and like they've put on weight, but all of a sudden they turn really tiny and small. It's like, yeah, because they're following the protocols.
But also those ones are not the ones who are doing it correctly. Like if you look at the best bodybuilders in the world, for example, Chris Bumstead, he doesn't let himself go.
No.
He does what we're talking about today, right? Lean bulking, right? So he'll have periods where he'll diet, but they're only mini cuts, short diet phases, because he keeps himself lean. Like he pretty much maintains a lean, good looking physique year round, because he will go to extreme levels of low body fat, and then he'll build up from there. He'll lean bulk, but he won't let his abs go. Like he'll let them kind of go towards the ends and then come back down.
Yeah. Goals. Anyway,
I love it.
Summary of today is it's winter. You've been motivated from our podcast episode last week. If you missed it, highly recommend going back. It's about maintaining momentum in winter. But now, if you've listened to that episode and this one, it's about now picking the goal of either bulking or cutting in winter. And winter is the perfect time to do it because there's less events on, there's less interruptions. You can wear heavy jumpers if you need to, if you're bulking. And it's just a really good season to lock in.
Yeah. And if you're one of our clients and you want to change something, talk to your coach first. Don't just change it yourself. Talk to your coach because they'll give you some advice. But most likely, if you've got weight to lose, you still need to lose the weight. Prioritize that. If you're like, oh, you know what? I'm actually happy with how I am looking right now and I want to focus on muscle growth, focus on feeling good, and then I'll focus on cutting in spring, in September, then talk to your coach and then we'll implement a lean bulk for you.
100%. Well, guys, thank you as always. Comment and subscribe and share this podcast around.
Yep.
And we hope you
live the Pro Body lifestyle.